TD Ryan Unleashed is brought to you by Scott Diamond, your State Farm Insurance agent in DeKalb. Call 815-748-3101 or stop by at 2587 Sycamore Road, Suite D in DeKalb. Like a good neighbor, Scott Diamond and State Farm are there. Pizza Villa, pizza, pasta, sandwiches, and more at 824 West Lincoln Highway in DeKalb. Don't forget Kids Eat for Free on Thursday. For delivery or pickup, go to pizzavilla.com or call 815-758-8116. Elder Care Services of DeKalb. Safe, secure, and supported, helping you stay in home where you want to be. Call 815-758-6550 or stop in at 1701 East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb or on the web at ecsdekalb.org. My Insurance Guy in Sycamore covers Medicare to auto care and everything in between. Stop by at 204 South Main Street in Sycamore. Call 815-899-0950 or online at myinsuranceguy.com. Welcome into TD Ryan Unleashed, new podcast number 54. An honor and a privilege to have with us Brighid, if I'm saying it right. Brighid, right?
Yes.
Brighid Reed is with us. Brighid is an 8th grader who once again won the DeKalb County Regional Office Education Spelling Bee in February. She also won back in 2025. Her second win gives her a trip to the Scripps National Spelling Bee in Washington, D.C., which she competed there in 2025. We'll talk to her about that. Reed is also a 3-time champion of the Little 10 Conference Spelling Bee. This year's competition lasted 2.5 hours and 31 rounds. And, oh, by the way, she has a lot more going on. But, Brighid, welcome to the airways. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. I want to ask first, speaking of spelling, tell us about your name. I wanted to call you Brighid when I first looked at this, but it's Brighid. Tell us about that name, please, if you would.
I'm named after my great-great-grandmother who immigrated from Ireland.
Oh,
with
my.
Her husband and 4 children.
Is that right?
Yes.
From the old side. From the old side. Yeah, Brian's my last name. I know all about Ireland. That's wonderful to hear that. And we also have Jim and Pam, like The Office. I can't know why I can't remember that. So tell us, brag on this young lady a little bit.
Well, I mean...
Just talk right into my quiz.
Oh, sorry. Brighid has been... we actually started working with her pretty heavily around the time of COVID when she was forced to, be homeschooled. She was at home a lot, and we tried to supplement a lot of the assignments she was being given at school with a lot of reading. So we had her reading Steinbeck and Hemingway and moving her along into the great American literary classics at a very young age. We're talking grade school, just to try to keep her engaged. So that we were concerned she would fall behind at school. And that's kind of where she started to become more interested in language and words and reading. This child used to get in such trouble. Her dad can tell the story at school.
Bridget's nodding her head.
At school, she would go out to the playground with all the other children, but she would bring a book. She preferred to read above all else. Parent-teacher conference.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
We actually went to her 3rd or 4th grade parent-teacher conference, and the teacher looked at both of us and said, "Your daughter is just challenging." And I was like, "Challenging? She's never had a problem in school." She said, "Oh, no, not that way. She'd be in math class with the desktop up and a book sitting inside, and she'd be reading during math." And this math teacher she's like one of the top math teachers in the whole area. And she just would get so upset because Bridget's really good, not great in math, but she's good at it. And she just kept, every time she'd see her desk open and she'd be with her head down looking at a book and not doing her math work. And it's the only complaint we've ever had from any of her teachers, that she was just so intensely reading all the time that she wouldn't pay attention to the rest of the class.
That's one of the best complaints from a teacher I've ever heard before. That's fantastic. Well, now let's talk about, I want to talk about your website too, because again, I've interviewed hundreds of kids when I was on WLBK. None of them had their own website, I'll tell you that. And I want to talk about this, how it starts, Brighid. Walk me through this. First thing you say is, "I'm a child of God." Why is that important that you lead with that?
It's important to me because I cannot do anything in this life without Jesus. I could not have gotten into the spelling bee and done all these great things without Jesus at my side. So he's very important to me, and he's a very big part of my life.
Oh, that's a great answer, too. Now, and then we go to, "I'm a proud daughter, sister, and granddaughter of several U.S. Army and Marine Corps veterans and one active British Royal Air Force officer." Right now, tell us about that, please.
Well, both my parents are Marines. One of my older brothers is a Marine. another one of my older brothers was in the Army with his wife, my sister-in-law. And one of my... Joseph, the oldest brother, is in the British Royal Air Force currently, but he's living in the U.S. with his wife and kids. And they're all such big parts of my life, and I've heard so many stories about their times in the military. And when I was younger, my parents urged me to join the military, but I was like, I don't think that's for me.
Okay, that wasn't your calling. Okay.
No.
Has that thoughts changed now to the last?
No, not really. I'd rather go into the academic fields.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have a real appreciation for what
Yes.
they did, don't you?
Yes. I love hearing their stories about their times in different countries and all the cool stuff that they did while they were in the military. And I've almost memorized all of the stories.
Oh, really?
I can repeat them to my friends.
That's awesome, too. Now, the next one here, I've won multiple awards, and I'm a published author. So tell us about that, please.
I have won multiple awards outside of spelling, mostly for my poetry and my essay writing. I recently won an award for an essay about my personal values. And I submit them to different essay and poetry contests that I find online.
Okay.
My favorite ones were probably the EPA poetry contest, where we were to write poems about environmental protection and our thoughts on the environment. That was my favorite contest.
I bet. Wow, that's really such a neat thing to get into, too. And then now, as we keep working our way through, because we're going to touch on that later, I listen to alternative music and reading the works of like Ernest Hemingway and John Steinbeck. Tell us about the alternative music part.
I love music so much. I get a lot of my music tastes from my mother and father, and 80s, 90s, and 70s music is my favorite. I like bands like Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Metallica, Megadeth. I like Nirvana. I like a little bit of the Beatles, but I don't listen to them very much.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is there anything modern or new you like?
No.
Okay.
What concert did you just go see?
Oh, I do like some modern bands like My Chemical Romance, the emo scene from the early 2000s.
Okay.
And I did just go see MCR concert a couple months ago with my brother and his wife. That
Okay.
was really fun. It was a magical experience.
My Chemical Romance? I'll have to look
Yes.
up. I'll have to look that one up. Okay.
They're really fun.
Now, outside of academics, I'm an active member of the National Society of Children of the American Revolution, and I've been a competitive swimmer for 6 years. Tell us about being a member of the National Society of Children of the American Revolution. You mentioned your great-grandmother, was that right, from Ireland?
My great-grandmother from Ireland, she was on my father's side, and she was not part of the NSDAR. The woman who originally started my family's journey with the DAR and CAR was my grandmother on my mother's side, who got into it before I was born, and then my mother got into it, and subsequently I joined when I was around 7 years old, and I've been doing it for 7 years, and I've made a lot of friends, and I have learned different ways to be a good citizen and how to be a leader, and the NSDAR is where I will go when I turn 21.
Oh, very good. You know, we received an award at the WLBK at the radio station from the Daughters of American Revolution. So can you explain to us what that is, Bridget? So you just have a relative that was in the Revolutionary War? Is that
Yes.
another word?
To get into the NSDAR and CAR, you have to have at least one relative who served in the American Revolution.
Okay.
I have 7 relatives.
Wow.
She has 7 patriots, one is a woman.
Is that right?
Yes.
So Pam, Pam, get on that mic.
Yes.
So did you do that? You went back and did some research here?
Yes,
did
that was actually my mother. My mother was a genealogist. She passed away 3 years ago.
Oh,
But
sorry.
She is the one that found all of the patriots in the family, and it's a very rare thing to have a female patriot, but we do have one. She provided support. She provided horses and different munitions to the Revolutionary War effort. So
Wow.
that's very rare. So yeah, we've been really heavily involved with the DAR, and now Bridget's part of the CAR, which is the Children of the American Revolution.
All right, very good.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
Now, as I said, I've interviewed hundreds of kids on the radio station through the years, and I've never heard this. I aspire to be a tenured professor of English literature at the University of Cambridge under the tutelage of Dr. Amy Morris, or at the University of Oxford under the tutelage of Dr. Peter Boxall. Tell us about that. Boy, you got your life all planned out, don't you, Bridget? And by the way, I can call you B, right?
Yes.
And that nickname started before you got into the spelling bee stuff.
The B nickname started when I was very young. I don't really know the origins of it. It's just stuck around, and
Didn't know how
everybody
to
calls me
pronounce
it.
your name.
Yeah.
They literally could. Her teachers couldn't pronounce her name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they would. It would be Brighid or
Brighid.
They would just butcher her name constantly. And she finally turned to somebody and said, "Why don't you just call me B?" And the teacher was like, and they weren't used to having somebody that was so forward with
Outspoken.
adults.
Outspoken.
But-
That's
yeah,
a nice way to put it.
outspoken, put it that way. But she's always been raised around adults. Her youngest brother is 18 years older than her.
Oh, okay.
So she's been around nothing but adults most of her life. And she's never had a problem speaking up for herself, that's for sure.
Now, B, why these two professors? Why Dr. Amy Morris and Dr. Peter Boxall?
I wish to be under their guidance because they are some of the leading professors in American literature, and I just look up to them so much. And I also really want to work at the colleges that they are under.
Have you corresponded with them? Do they know that you have such a passion at such an early age that they might kind of help pave the way for that?
No, not yet. I'm
Okay.
hoping to, though, over the summer when the spelling bee's over.
All right, great. Well, that'll be got to be great. So again, that's just touching on that. So in the last year, you were at the 100th anniversary of the 2025 Scripps National Spelling Bee. 243 competitors representing the United States, plus territories like Canada, Nigeria, and Kuwait. What was that like to get to meet other spellers from around the world?
It was really magical. I met one girl from Kenya, I met a girl from Nigeria, a girl from Mexico, and they were all so fun and so sweet. And it was really amazing hearing them talk about their countries and where they were from and their cultures. And I also met a bunch of kids from the different states, and that was really fun because we could all keep in touch and see each other the next year.
Do you compare styles with each other, like how you do things? Like, how do you stay calm? How do you stay calm on that stage?
I stay calm through internal prayer and a lot of deep breathing and meditation beforehand.
Okay.
And also, I am a competitive swimmer, so I'm used to stepping up to perform under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Because everybody's looking at you when you're on the block getting ready to dive into the water, and everybody's looking at you when you're getting ready to spell. So it's not that different.
No. What events do you swim?
I swim the 50 free, 50 back, 100 free, 100 back, 100 breaststroke, and 50 breaststroke.
Okay. And I was going through your portfolio, which again, you're the first eighth grader I've known to have a portfolio. When you took a swim lesson at the Y and it just kind of took, huh?
Yes. I started swim lessons at the Y when I was a baby. There's a lot of photos of my dad helping me figure out how to swim. And then when I was
Now, Pam, were you over the school? Just throw the child in and they'll know how to float, right?
No. I had swimming lessons as well when I was young, but that was something her and her dad did together. That was their thing. So her dad is still accompanying her to all of her swim meets and provides coaching and mentoring. So he's always with her every swim meet.
And I was very impressed you had to give up, what was it, several weeks of training for the spelling bee, right? Tell us about that.
Several months of training for
Several
swim.
months, okay.
Yes, were given up, but it was totally worth it because I got to spend a lot of time with my mom studying, and the spelling bee was just so fun. But I did miss swimming a lot, and I missed all my friends on the swim team. And when I got back, it was like a breath of fresh air to be away from spelling for a little bit.
A breath of fresh air. That's a good analogy to use when you're talking about swimming. And then let's talk about that. And you finished 184th out of 243 regional champions. Tell us about what that first big one was like. Was it a tough word that you messed up on, or what happened?
It was a pretty tough word. It was encomium, and it was a vocabulary term that I got, and I had to pretty much guess the vocabulary. And I guessed that it was a medical term. It was not. It's actually a term for high praise. And I got off the stage and I was just like, how did I get that wrong? I was so confused, but I was also happy that I had tried my best. And
That's great.
Yeah, it was a very cool experience.
Now, when you guys ask for the origin of the word, things like that, are you just buying time, or does that really help you with that?
At the National Spelling Bee, asking for the origin of the word, asking for the definition, asking for it in a sentence, it helps with spelling the word, but when you're doing it at smaller bees, it's mostly just to buy yourself time to think about the word and take a deep breath.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's been words, because I know you and your mom went over 4,000 words, but occasionally a word pops up you don't know, and then what do you do then?
Well, me and my mother's studying method is that we first go over the whole list without studying beforehand. And any words that I get wrong during that period, she highlights on the list. And then we go over those words over and over and over again until I've completely memorized them.
She's rolling her eyes and she's saying over and over and over. But Pam, again, I watched that Steve Hartman does a segment on the Sunday morning show, and it was an 85-year-old Vietnam World War II veteran and never learned how to read, and he was able to fake his way through life with his wife taking care of him, and his wife passed away. And everybody tried to teach him all these new modern methods, and one lady got him and used flashcards, got the flashcards going, and he learned through the flashcard. He was read a first-grade biography of George Washington, said it was the proudest book he ever read, but that kind of old school, and you guys kind of old school, a lot of just memorization we're talking about, right?
Yes, it's repetition. That's the way I learn best, through repetition. Very rarely do you have a child who can look at something one time and remember how to spell it, especially like a foreign language word. And there are a ton of Greek and Latin words on that list, German words.
I meant to ask you, did you study Latin words? Does that help to start with the Latin? Because I know so many origins are from the Latin.
She actually, Brighid, last year, we put her with a tutor. And the tutor was not focused as much on the spelling itself as the languages of origin and what the root word meanings were. The reason he did that was because the 4,000 word list that you referred to, that's only the first 2 rounds. After that, they go directly to the dictionary. There is no studying. So
really?
These kids have to know the languages of origin, the root words, the meanings, Italian, all of the romance languages, Latin, German,
Eastern European languages.
Indian.
Wow.
It is incredible.
Is that right?
Yes, these kids are amazing. They really are. So they know a lot more than just how to spell a word. They know
How to break it down.
how to break it down
Okay.
to the language of origin, which is fascinating.
I was just playing Scrabble a couple nights ago, and a guy came up with a couple words. I have no idea what they were, but that wasn't about to challenge him because they were actually words. We looked it up afterwards.
Yes.
But let's give people an idea. In 2025, these are the words you had to spell: disaster, slurry, bigotry, rabid, avatar, oblong, financier. And then it also said you had to demonstrate the understanding of the meaning of exorbitant, scanty, and distraught. What does that mean? By a multiple choice questions, that was?
There are multiple choice vocabulary questions, and they give you an A or a B answer, and you have to there is an app that they give you for the spelling bee, and it's primarily for learning the vocabulary terms for all of the words in the list. So I use that app to memorize the vocabulary terms, and that was how I got through those vocab.
Wow. Now, I was out playing in the backyard the other day, and I hurt my ankle, and I needed some fomentation. I understand that was a word that gave you a little bit of. Am I saying the right? Fomentation.
Yes.
It said to apply like a pad or something on an injury. Tell us
Yes.
about that word that messed you up.
Fomentation is
I bet you'll never forget it again, right?
no. It's a really strange word, and I almost forgot about it until you brought it up.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we'll leave that alone then. Let's leave it alone. But also in that same little paragraph, it says here, when you're having trouble with the word, she says she looks up and imagines the letters of the word on the ceiling. Tell us about that. So you kind of visualize it on the ceiling, huh?
Yes. When I look up and I look at the ceiling, I actually see someone writing the word on a blackboard, like a teacher when they write on the blackboard. And I spell it along in my head. And then I'll say it under my breath so that the judges can't hear me. And then I say it out loud, finally. And that's my method for thinking about the word and making sure that I have it right.
Okay.
Like checking your work on a test.
And then you whisper it to yourself before
Yes.
you say it.
Yes, I actually had to stop doing that because my mom was worried that the judges would hear me and think that I was actually answering for the word. So I've started doing it in my head now to prevent that.
Now, I didn't go long enough on the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency 2024 poster poetry and prose contest. Can you give us a rough idea what you did to win that? What you did?
I wrote a poem about Mother Nature and all of her various creatures and how, like, I personified Mother Nature and how she would feel to see all of the animals and all the plants that live on Earth being killed by human expansion and technology and infrastructure that comes along and just takes over the land. And I won.
Oh, I know. Well, you should with that. That's great. That's great that you would think that way. That's wonderful. And I think you mentioned her now. You Saranac Middle School reading specialist and spelling bee coach Emily Dolce. Am I saying that right?
Dulce. Yes.
Tell us about Emily and how she had an effect on your ability to spell.
She is a wonderful teacher, and she's one of my biggest supporters at the school. She gets everything ready for the spelling bee. She handles all the logistics, all the planning for everything. She's really such a big help, and we love her. She's so awesome.
And I'm sure she's very proud of you.
Yes.
So that's wonderful.
She's been to all of my spelling bees except the national one because she couldn't come.
Oh, very good. Well, Pam and Jim, let's talk about you guys a little bit here because, again, the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree. Pam, I'm guessing, did B do the portfolio, or did you do that, or you had a part of it? I'm going to guess.
That was an
Well, I wish I had this when I was a kid. I wrote down for me, I had 5 years old, learned how to tie a big shoe, 7 years old, learned how to ride a bike with no training wheels. That's all I got so far. But not quite up to B's portfolio.
No, that was actually an exercise last summer, right?
Yes.
Last summer after the spelling bee, we didn't really have any. It's such a
Time consuming.
yeah, it's such a slog when we're in the spelling bee buildup, and it's nonstop.
Oh, I like that word
studying.
slog.
It
Very
is
good.
a slog, and so after it was done, I wanted her to work on something last summer just to continue her learning. So we built that thing together because I needed to show her how to build a website, and she did.
Yeah, so it's Brighid.com, right? We should point out.
BrighidRead.com. And so she determined what was going to be on the website and the photographs and the poetry that's uploaded there. Yeah, I thought it would be a really good exercise for her to learn how to do.
It really is because it opens up. I love Jesus, my family, reading, writing, and music. But I love this part. I want to make the world a place where every man, woman, and child is free to express themselves without fear. Is that from you, or did you quote that from
That's
somebody?
from me.
You came up with that.
Yes.
Wow, that's very impressive. I really like that a lot. So if you don't mind, let's kind of go through this here because it's so well laid out. As a radio interviewer, I couldn't ask for more because here's B's whole life just laid out for me here. But we can't hit on everything because B has been so busy up to the age of 14. But let's just hit on some of the first one. Again, we mentioned on this that at the age of 7, you were inducted into the National Society of Children of American Revolution, founded in 1895, as the oldest patriotic youth organization in the country. And then you immediately became the curator of the Wabansie Society Children of American Revolution. What does that mean? Or should you take that one, Jim?
Jim's not really involved with the CAR
Oh, okay.
stuff. It's mostly the ladies of the DAR.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay. It's their children and their grandchildren that are a part. And also the Sons of the American Revolution have children in the CAR. But Jim is not part of this SAR quite yet.
Okay.
But yes, what happens is when you join the CAR, they try to put these children as young as 6 and 7 years old into leadership roles
Yeah.
to try to build their leadership. And so it forces them to have to provide reports. They have to do that in front of an audience of their peers. They learn parliamentary rules, which is fantastic. So they learn how to run meetings.
Yes.
So they're training these young children not just in patriotism, but they're also training them in how to be leaders, how to run meetings, how to organize, how to do community service at a very young age. So these kids, by the time they're 18, are quite impressive.
Well, B, that's very appropriate, isn't it? Because many of our revolutionary heroes were very young, weren't they? Because we lived to be about 42, right? So they had to get stuff done early, much like you're doing.
Yes. Actually, one of my favorite revolutionary leaders in America is Thomas Jefferson. I look up to him so much. He was a voracious reader. He was an incredibly intelligent man. He was an incredibly complex man.
He was.
But I look up to him immensely, and I have been reading his biography at school, and I find it fascinating.
What did he invent? Something for the farmers? A mold plow. Look that one up.
yeah.
That was a mold plow. That was one I remember from Thomas Jefferson reading about him. And then I want to mention this because you talked about the homeschooling. So, but really, the COVID kind of changed your life, didn't it, B? I mean, it changed everybody's lives, but for you, almost better for the academic wise, right? Because you were now forced to homeschool.
Yes. Before COVID hit, I was not the most excellent student, but I wasn't a bad student either. But homeschooling with COVID actually encouraged me to have more time to work on different skills, and having my mom teach me like she taught me basic algebra during COVID.
Well, let me go through this, see, because here, Mom taught her algebra to solve basic. I failed algebra in sophomore year in high school.
Yeah.
I didn't care what X equaled. I don't care that the train leaving Chicago with 50 pounds of fish. But you got to learn that in 8th grade. English language arts, revising rough drafts repeatedly. Now, I was a journalism minor, and I used to hate, they used to put that red marker, and you had to rewrite things, but obviously you learned that part, which is great. College level English and literature, nearly all of literature classics on her mother's bookshelf because the library was closed, right?
Yes.
So thank God Mom had all these classics at home.
yes.
That's great. And some of these people that you've read, Jane Austen, Emily Dickinson, Anne Frank, Ernest Hemingway. I have to ask you, you've read Harry Potter. All my grandkids read Harry Potter. They didn't have to. Was it?
I have read some of the Harry Potter books. I could not finish them. I actually moved on. I think I was in the middle of the 3rd Harry Potter book, and then I got Anne Frank's diary for
Oh,
Christmas.
gosh.
And I just had to read it. And I loved Anne Frank so much. I felt a deep connection to her. She's one of my favorite authors. It's my favorite book. I actually didn't like her in the beginning when I was reading it,
Uh-huh.
but then I learned to enjoy her commentary on her daily life, and it was a different experience than any of the other books that I'd read.
She wasn't nice to her mother, was she?
She wasn't very nice to her mother, but
But
she was
a
also
teenager.
going through one of the hardest things,
Yes.
the hardest thing that a teenager go through, being stuck in a house with like 7 other people.
Oh, and the the
Stuck
lack
in
of
an
sunlight
attic.
was the one that always, the lack of sunlight was the one that always got to me. But then you realize, too, the importance of writing, that the fact that she took time to write this journal,
Yes.
and now it's still being read now. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yes. And she actually wrote in her journal that she hoped somebody would find it and publish it. And she revised her journal so that it would be easier for people to read and more interesting for them to read.
Oh, really?
And I thought that was very admirable of her, to keep such a detailed record of life in hiding during the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And I think it was very, I can't think of the word.
That's ironic for being not to be able to think of a word. But that shows how much it means to you, though. That's
Yes.
great. My wife just was in Europe. She goes there twice a year to buy diamonds for her jewelry store. But they went to the Anne Frank Museum, and they talked about just how emotionally powerful that is to go. So maybe one day you'll be able to get there, huh?
Yeah. I hope so.
That'd be great.
That would
Wow.
be really cool.
What a story. Wow. Who's your favorite author? Do you have a favorite author? Is it Anne Frank?
Anne Frank is one of my favorite authors. She's in the top 3. But my absolute favorite author is John Steinbeck. I love his novels so much. And then my second favorite author is Jane Austen.
Okay. Now, Dad had you read Of Mice and Men. Tell me about the rabbits, George. Tell me about the rabbits. Tell me, why did you like that book? Why did Dad say, read this? Oh, Dad, do I got to read this? Or what was your thought?
Dad encouraged me to read Of Mice and Men, and I didn't want to read it at first, but then I started reading it, and I couldn't put it down, and the ending just
Oh.
absolutely broke me. I was so upset.
That
couldn't-
ending.
Yeah, I couldn't read another book for like 2 weeks. And
But does that show you the power of literature? Because I remember just being blown away by that ending, just the
Yes.
way it ended.
yeah.
But you can share the power of the book, huh?
Mhm.
That's great. Boy, I get goosebumps talking to you. I tell you. Now, and back when you were 9, you founded the first student newspaper there at the James Wood Elementary School. Tell us about that. The Bobcat Quarterly.
The Bobcat Quarterly was a really fun project that I did with my mom. I tried to encourage other students to help me with it, to get other kids involved because I wanted more friends. And then none of the other kids wanted to do it with me because they thought I was a nerd. But me and my mom still went ahead and did it, and it was a very fun thing for us to do. I interviewed teachers, I interviewed athletes at the high school.
And you had full color pages, 6 full color pages, right?
Yes. We had movie and book reviews in there, and it was really fun. There's actually a student newspaper at the high school, and I'm going to be joining it.
Oh,
next
good for
year.
you.
Yeah.
I'd read that right now, as a matter of fact. Now, when you were 11, again, you went to the top winner of the poetry and prose for the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. What was the poem Closing In? Can you give us a little taste of that? What was it, Closing In?
Closing In was the poem that I mentioned earlier
Yeah,
about Mother Nature and all of the animals.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yes.
Now, this is what I'm impressed in. Back when you were 11, you sang a cappella, This Is My Fight Song, the Rachel Patton song. Now, that took a lot of, she's embarrassed still now. Tell us about that. It took a lot of nerve to get up there and do that. That's awesome.
So I sang that song during a really rough period of my life. My grandmother had just passed away, and I was struggling to cope with the emotions in my head. My grandmother was my best friend, and I didn't really have anybody at school who understood or wanted to understand what was going on. And I felt really alone. And when I found that song on YouTube, I was like, oh my gosh, this is really hopeful and cool. And I was like, I should sing this for the talent show. And so I got up and I sang
With no music.
with no music. And I dedicated the performance to my grandmother. And I actually changed some of the lyrics to fit her and her life and her.
Wow. Oh, did
effect
you
on
really?
me. Yes.
Oh, my. And I'm sure, Pam, we have this on videotape somewhere?
I did not get that on videotape, but a lot of the parents came to me after that and said that they were just in tears.
I bet.
Yeah, yeah. I was more stunned to see my daughter up there singing a cappella. I didn't think, I've never seen a child do that at that age. I could never have done that.
Wow.
Never.
That was my introduction to wanting to be a musician.
And when you got the applause and everything, was that like a bonus? Because it sounds like that was a catharsis for you to actually do that, to just sing about
Yes.
your grandmother.
Plus, a lot of the reason why I wanted to do that song specifically was because I was also pretty much my grief when I tried to express it to my friends was pretty much being ignored and belittled. And so I sang that song as kind of like, as like a message. I don't need you guys to help me get through this. I can do it on my own.
Wow.
Not that I
Want
still-
to, right? But that's
Yeah.
very astute of you to come up with that. Wow.
Yeah, and it's not like I still feel that way now. But
No,
it's
but at
been
the time, yeah.
4 years.
They were very young.
Yeah.
They were very young.
They
and
were.
None of them had really experienced loss before, so. I
No,
don't
and the
blame
level
them.
of cruelty can be, we do a suicide prevention show too, and we did one about teenage suicide. And when kids get online, the level of cruelty just is unbelievable. Now, when they're in the same room, they will not go there or see somebody. But when they're that anonymity,
They have a
just,
lot of courage, yeah.
yeah, that's really scary stuff.
Yeah.
So your poetry, you won the 2024. You were the Young Poets Digest. You had 2 works titled "My Favorite Valentine" and "Districts." Now we're going to hear "My Favorite Forever Valentine" in a minute. But what was "Districts" about? What was that about?
Districts was about the experience of being in the water and swimming against other people. Because when you're in the water, it closes around you and you can just barely hear the people screaming at you. And you can feel the cold on your skin. And it's like euphoric being in there and your heart is pumping and there's adrenaline going and you're just trying to be as fast as you can. And it's like being in heaven, being in that water. And I wanted to put that on a page and express it.
Oh, I feel I'm a swimmer myself, and I feel I'm a Pisces too. I know exactly what you're talking. I was thinking about the movie The Graduate. If you ever saw that, there's a scene where Dustin Hoffman jumps in the pool, and he's just kind of hanging to the bottom of the pool, looking up, and he's just enjoying the silence and just being under the water. But now you had a setback here. Now I want to talk about this. When you were 12 in 2024, DeKalb County Spelling Bee. Sadly, she was eliminated on the very first vocabulary word when no one told her vocabulary words would be a component of the regional competition. But then the very next year, or actually just a few days later, you won the Junior 10 conference, and you were the top scorer. Tell us about that comeback, and after the disappointment, you stuck with it and came back and won.
Yes. After I lost that time, I was obviously embarrassed, and I felt like I had failed. But then when I came back to Junior 10 and I won, it was like getting my groove back on and getting back into the rhythm of winning. And the initial loss at regionals, I was not prepared properly. I did not know that Scripps included vocabulary, and so I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
Your parents are nodding and laughing over there. Yeah, so that
Yes.
must have been quite reality.
Yeah.
But you had the perseverance to come back. Now, did you lose some confidence going in now to the next round with the junior?
I did lose a little bit of confidence, but in the beginning of the Junior 10, right after that loss, I was like, what if I fail again? And I was so scared, but then I started spelling and I kept getting words right, and I was like, this is me. This is what I do. This is what I'm good at. And I'm
Nice.
going to win. I just kept telling myself, I'm going to win this time. And then I got the final word right, and I jumped in the air, and I was so happy, and I went to hug my parents, and it was like the best moment ever.
Wow.
And sometimes I think about that moment and I just get like that rush again.
I bet.
Yeah.
You know, I interviewed the girls on the DeKalb wrestling team, and one of the girls, Alex, is the champion, and she said when she was weighing in, she said she knew she was going to win because she had done so much prep to get ready. Sounds like you were that same kind of attitude. You knew you were going to win because you know all this stuff.
Yes. We take a lot of time to prepare for spelling bees. It's a lot of sitting on the couch and studying for hours and hours. Sometimes it goes long into the night. Sometimes we study up to 400 words a night.
Wow.
After school.
After a day of school and work. But when you're at the bee and you're finally showing all your hard work, it's like, yes, I'm so happy I did all that.
That's wonderful. Now, we also did a poetry slam in 6th grade. I'm not even sure what a poetry slam is. Tell us about that, please.
Well, I wrote a poem dedicated to my 6th grade class, and it was basically saying that the kids in my class had to make a choice whether they wanted to excel and live up to their full potential or fall after high school. And I was trying to encourage the kids in my class to find their own talents. And I already had spelling and writing, and I felt like the kids in my class just needed to find their own thing. So I wrote that poem, and my school librarian has it in the library framed, which
Wow.
is really cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
So who knows who you might influence? Somebody might read that, change their whole life. I mean,
Yeah.
really, that's fantastic. Now, you're not alone here. I see Bridget was the 3rd student from Salmonock to compete National Spelling Bee. Salmonock 8th grader Keith Morkey did it back in 2014, and Salmonock 7th grader Jessica in 2016. Do you know these two at all? Do you ever
No.
familiar with them?
No,
Okay.
they're adults now.
Okay, so I wonder if they might be around or not. And of course, you know, you go on another spelling competition, another spelling competition. I'm impressed too. You want to be a babysitter, and then you also took advanced adult and pediatric first aid as well, right?
Yes, that was a summer project that I did because I really wanted to start babysitting and taking care of children and making money along with it. And
Very practical.
Yeah. I took courses through the American Red Cross. I took babysitting courses and CPR and AED courses. And I actually babysit regularly for this one family in Salmonock. And these 2 kids that I babysit, they're just so sweet. And I love babysitting for them. It's like I do it on weekends and during the week. And it's
Okay.
really cool because I get to hang out with them and then I get to make a little bit of money after every.
I was going to tell you, my daughter-in-law read Little House on the Prairie to my granddaughter while she was in the womb. Now you're going to be a babysitter. Are you going to start training these kids to spell or introducing them to the classics like your parents did?
I do read these kids
You
the
do?
books that they have. And the other day, I was actually talking to them about some of my favorite bands and explaining to them they didn't really care about all my favorite musical artists. And they were like, okay, can we have food now?
I love it. That's great. And then we talked about your website. Again, awesome. And I was touched by this one. And you were 14 in December. Bridget collected items to fill Christmas stockings for the veterans at the New Horizon and Transitional Living Program operated by Veterans Path to Hope in Hebron, Illinois. Tell us about that. That must have been a magical moment for you.
Yes. Well, the CAR and DAR, every year a new CAR president is elected, and that president's yearly project is what everybody in the CAR puts their time into.
Okay.
And the last president's project was veterans and helping homeless veterans. And I personally really enjoyed that project because I have veterans in my family. And I think one of America's biggest problems right now is veteran homelessness. And it just breaks my heart to think about all those people who serve our country and then end up on the streets just a couple years later.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredibly unfair, and I wanted to help make their Christmas a little bit better with my friends.
Wow,
So,
that must have been fantastic. And again, there's so many other things we can't even touch on. The 87th Illinois Children of the American Revolution Society, you presented to them. Also, exemplary essay, you won the Resilience Through Hardship. That's the one you were talking about there, right? And what core values mean the most to you and why? And then I want to say you're media savvy because there's a whole paragraph of all the interviews and stuff you've done. What was that like, the first one with the Shaw Media? Were you nervous? What was that like?
I was so nervous. I kept stuttering over my words and saying the wrong thing. And I just thought I'd completely blown it. But then I listened to it on the radio and I was like, I didn't do that bad.
Talk about your News Nation interview. That was interesting. That was
Yeah.
live on national TV.
My News Nation interview was strange because I did it in our rental car while we were sitting at a gas station in West Virginia.
We were,
Oh,
in
so you
Virginia.
weren't-
we were headed to Monticello.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you weren't in the studio. Okay.
We were
Yeah.
headed to Jefferson's home.
And I was sitting in the car and it was raining outside and my parents were in the gas station waiting for me to finish up. And I didn't have any questions prepared. I hadn't been told what they were going to ask me. So everything I said was completely improvised. Just straight out of my head. And I was like shaking the whole time, like, oh my gosh, I'm on live TV right now.
It's actually on her website.
Yeah,
And
the video
along with
is on
all
my
her
website.
Poetry, everything is posted up there.
So Bridget, we'll get that here at the end.
Yeah,
We're just
she
about
did
going
a-
to finish
did
up.
a
But
really
I noticed you
good
brought
job.
some notes today, but you didn't even need them, did you?
Yeah.
I guess it's all on the top of your head there.
Yeah.
And I hope you don't mind. I added this. I added Saturday, April 11th, went on the widely popular TD Ryan Unleashed podcast. Is that it?
Absolutely.
To add-
Yeah,
Now you're going to, for the second spelling bee here, the Daughter of the American Revolution Constitution Hall, which is a 1776 Northwest Washington, D.C., opened in 1929. Now this has a lot of meaning to you. You thought about your grandmother. You said when you asked about competing at the Constitution, this is a quote from you. It makes me very happy because I know that if my grandmother was alive to see me going to Constitution Hall, she'd be the first one on the plane, and she'd be so happy. And tell us about that, what the influence. Obviously, you mentioned that, but what an influence she's had on you. And sadly that she can't be there, but you know she's watching from heaven.
Yes. When I spell, and basically when I do anything competitive, I think I'm doing this for my grandmother, and I'm doing this to make her proud, and also to make myself proud, and to enhance in my career.
Uh-huh.
And my grandmother, she was like a second mother to me my whole childhood. I spent half of my time at her house with her and my grandfather.
Tell us about what did she do growing up? What was Grandma about? What was she?
She liked playing games. We used to regularly beat my grandfather in Monopoly and Candyland. We used to do tea parties, and
Used to bake.
we used to bake. And I had
School.
we used to play school, and I always gave my grandfather an F every single time.
Oh,
And,
that's wonderful.
I remember some of my fondest memories happened on my grandmother's back porch when we would just be sitting, watching the sun go down and waiting for my father to pick me up, and we'd be eating lemon popsicles and just talking. And the last summer that I had with her was when I had some of the best memories and when I really started to learn more about her. I actually interviewed her that summer and asked her about her childhood and some of her favorite
Good
things.
for you.
But that last summer, I just really wanted to soak in her presence and make even more memories than I already had. My grandmother taught me how to be a young lady and how to be gracious and polite, and she was just a really amazing woman, and I love her so much, and I wish she were still here.
Wow. That's an amazing answer, I tell you. It's really just, I'm in awe of that. And of course, these two sitting here aren't too bad either, are they? So I saved these poems here at the end. I was going to read them, but I think it'd be better if you read it. First, I want to read Parents. Parents want perfection. I want peace. Who wins? No one. That's great, right to the heart there. But you have one for Mom and one for Dad. Dad that won. And I wonder if you could read those, please, because, again, I know how instrumental these two people were in your lives, and I think it'd be great if you could read one to Mom and read one to Dad. And Dad, that one won an award, didn't it? The one for Dad.
Yes.
It got in the book.
All right, so the first one is called My Mother. My mother anticipates, my mother hopes, my mother waits. My mother will be surprised by me and my potential. And then you already read Parents, which was written when I was little.
I love that one.
And then My Forever Valentine is for my father. Dear Daddy, when I grow older and you have to give me away, just remember when I was young and you were my only Valentine. Remember when we drove to classic cinemas to see the latest Marvel movies. Remember all the times you took me fishing and ended up having to fish me out of a lake. Keep them locked away for a rainy day. My dear Daddy, my forever Valentine.
That was almost moved to tears by that, because Jim, I'm sure you were almost moved to tears by that, because
I didn't
it's
expect it.
it's a little story, isn't it? It's a poem, but it's a little story too. That's what I like about that.
My father and my mother have been really instrumental in helping me with everything that I've done, and I appreciate them so much. They don't have to help me, but they still do, and they're the best parents that I could have asked for.
Let's leave it at that. Wow, you are wise beyond your years, my dear. And hey, Paul and Jim, I can't thank you guys enough. Paul, Pam, I don't want to call her Paula for some reason too, but Pam, obviously this must mean a lot to you, and all the hard work, and then all the sacrifice that Bee has made to get to this point.
Yes, it does. I've already raised 2 sons to adulthood, and it's very fascinating and validating just to watch them fledge and see where they land. So we're at the point of sending Brighid to high school next year in the fall, in August. And I'm just so excited and anticipatory of what she's going to accomplish in high school on her own. She's already on the right track. So I'm just really looking forward to just sitting back and watching her fledge and take off and do her thing. I'm really looking forward to it.
And Pam, tell us about your time in the military. What branch were you in?
I was in the Marine Corps.
The Marine Corps, okay.
Yeah, Jim and I were both Marines.
Did you meet in the Marine Corps?
No, we did not meet in the Marine Corps. Jim's
Okay.
a little bit older than me. So, yes, I was a Marine from 86 to 90, and I was in during Desert Storm. And then Jim spent quite a bit of time over in the Middle East as well. So, yeah.
Oh, God bless you both.
Thank you. She definitely comes from a military family. She's got tons of military in her family, like most families. It seems like it does seem to kind of run in the family for whatever reason. So, but
Well, we're blessed for that, I know. And Jim, I'll give you the final word here, because, we always hear the daddy's little girl, and boy, it must be special to have Bee as a little daughter.
She is. I mean, she's worked incredibly hard over the 7-8 years that she's been in school, and she knows what she wants. She goes after it, and she tends to get what she wants. And it's been fascinating, especially when we go, like we talk about the parent-teacher conferences. I can tell you when I was in school, my parent-teacher conferences were nothing like hers.
No.
All we get is compliments. We get, what a great kid she is, what a great student she is. And it's fascinating to see, because I was never a good student. I liked the spelling, I liked the reading and all the rest of it, but I didn't like math. I didn't like social studies. The teachers had to find a way to get to me. They don't seem to have to do that with her. She finds her way, and she does a great job at it.
Well, how about the mental maturity that Bee seems to have? Because
It
she's
seems like
wise
because
beyond her years.
Because she's been raised with so many adults.
Mm-hmm.
She's never had. I remember when she was little, her and Pam would sit on the couch, and one of the first books they ever read together was the children's Bible. And every night it was a passage from the Bible, and they just kept going and going and going. And I remember one day she was sitting in the middle of the living room with one of her books open, and I thought she had memorized it. And I looked down and I said, she's actually reading. And I was fascinated, because she couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 years old. And Pam looked at me and went, she's reading. We were like, it was just fascinating, because she took not an incredibly hard book, but it was a book that had a lot of different themes in it, and she just kept going with it. And I was like, how the heck did she know that word? And she just kept going and going and going, and she hasn't stopped since.
That's great.
So it's been fascinating to watch.
It's been a real pleasure getting to know you two, getting to know you three. And again, I want to put you on the spot a little here, Bee, but at the end, now let's say you're talking to a 5 or 6 year old now, and you're going to mentor them. What are you going to tell them about in terms of education and growing up? Just what would you give them your little, we call it the elevator speech, a little speech. What would you tell those kids?
I would tell them that no matter how hard everything seems at first, you're going to get it eventually. You are going to figure out a way to process it, and you're going to do fine. You're going to be okay. You're not going to fail, and you're going to find your own way, and you're going to find something that you love and that you excel at. And when you do find that thing, you work for it over and over and over, even if you fail, because you're going to fail. But you have to keep going. Don't give up. Don't give up on it.
I love it. I wish I would have met you 60 years ago. When I was 5 years old, you would have told me what to do. But I want to thank you so much. And I know now you're gonna hang up the spelling thing after this
Yes.
last one in Scripps. So we hope to have you back now after you go. You're going here. People will hear this about mid-May. You're going to go at the end of May. Is that when the Scripps spelling bee is?
Yes.
Yep, the end of May.
And you're going to meet hopefully with the people from the American Revolution there as well. And plus
hopefully.
you're going to be in Washington on our 250th anniversary, right? So
Yeah.
how great is that?
Yes.
Well, what better American to be there than you be? And again, I want to thank you both for our service to our country. Jim and Pam, thank you both so much for, and more importantly, thank you for this one over here. Bridget, again, it's BridgetReed.com, right? Bridget?
www.bridgetreed.com.
Check it out. You'll be in awe of what this young lady has done. A big thanks to our sponsors. And that's TD Ryan Unleashed News Podcast, podcast number 54.